Have you ever felt like you've had eyes trained in the back of your head? Can mysterious men vanish in a flash of smoke? What stalks a surprisingly large number of people all over the world? Today we test the believability of the Men in Black.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
That's right. I'll tell you what, today has sent me down a rabbit hole of the bizarre.
Here they come. Here come the Men in Black.
Will Smith is out there.
Also, I don't know where you were going to go with this, but just a reminder, October 28th, it is a Saturday,
Oh, yeah.
and at 9 p.m. on that Saturday, we will be doing a live Halloween episode from Gettysburg,
Ooh, that's
Pennsylvania.
exciting. That's very exciting. This is my year. So we're going to talk about all of this Gettysburg stuff.
It's going to be how Fae actually were rampant on the battlefields, tying people's shoes,
Yeah.
getting water in their gunpowder.
How Brother Fay fought Brother Fay in the bloodiest war in America.
So that's Saturday the 28th. If you're in Gettysburg or near Gettysburg, hit us up. We'll be there that day, the whole day.
Yeah.
But the live show will start at 9 p.m. on a device near you. I think at this point,
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time. Probably just do Twitch, I think, just to be
I'm
safe.
thinking Twitch.
Even that might not be safe, but we're going to try
Who
Twitch.
knows? We don't know anything. So today's episode, we're going to talk about phenomenon. You covered Women in Black.
I did talk about Women in Black, and now you're going to the patriarchy.
Yeah. Now I'm going to cover the much more common Men in Black. Although the Women in Black was very interesting.
It's basically the same thing, just one of them takes out the trash.
Jesus Christ. Well, that was very 1950s of us.
Do you take out the trash?
I do, mostly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, Steph mows the grass, and she can do the chores that are typically expected of men to do.
Listen, I'm not sexist, nor is my household run 1950s.
Yeah, who cuts your grass?
A buddy,
Some guy.
a guy. It's a guy.
Yeah.
And So we got a story today?
We've got several stories today. So let me shout my sources really quick. I've got Mysterious Universe, History Channel, Bridgepoint History Center, CNN, and of course, Reddit. Also Thought Catalog as well. So I've got a lot of things that we're going to go over. But yeah, let's jump into it. So we're going to talk about what the Men in Black are.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first stories about the Men in Black, and then we're going to go to encounters.
That's a beautiful structure, Charlie.
It's a good one. But also, there is room here, I would say, for a part two. There is so much into the Men in Black. There are many books. You could dig into a lot of stuff. There is room for a part two.
Maybe this will be a good mini encounter episode.
This would be a great mini encounter episode.
Yeah, on the L Patreon.
But there's also a lot of more history that we could dig into as well.
I'll say that for you. You got that, bro.
All right. Anyway, so let's talk first what the Men in Black are. The Men in Black are humans, quote unquote humans, that dress in all black, typically suits. And they usually come to those that have witnessed UFO phenomenon or have been known to provoke thought about UFO phenomenon. The question is that these people that come and they threaten people that have seen UFOs or provoke thought, are they actually people working for some kind of shadow agency, or are they more than that? Are they aliens themselves? Are they employed or working for the government somehow in some kind of way? Is the government employing aliens? That's a question.
They got little alien babies.
How do they pay them? What do they pay them with? Money can't not be money.
Probably not
There's
money.
no way it's money. Gold. I bet it's gold.
No, it's probably something worse than that.
Souls?
People.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 1 out of 100. What number do you think the aliens are working for the United States government?
0. I don't think they're working for
At
us. I don't know. With?
Okay.
I think it'd be a partnership. I don't think our government holds power.
Do you think what odds would you give that partnership?
That there's some type of relationship?
Mm-hmm.
22.
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it's likely, but I think it's certainly possible. One of the things that I've always struggled with is whether or not Men in Black are aliens themselves or whether or not they're just people that work for the government that are trying to. So there's there's the idea that they're aliens themselves, which could then also tie into the fact that they're working with the government.
Yeah.
But then there's also they're just strange people that work for our government that are a little menacing because they're trying they're normal. I don't want to say normal. They are human beings, but they have no connection to aliens except trying to keep things hush hush.
What's nice about this episode is that you are very knowledgeable about this because you've done your own research into this, so we can have this kind of back and forth. I want to focus on one thing, one theory specifically.
Faye.
No. I'm going to tell you this. The only person bringing up Faye in this episode is you.
I'm done.
There's no Faye here.
That was the quiz. This is the first time I brought it up here.
I think there's evidence that the Men in Black are supernatural. By supernatural, I mean alien in nature.
I think you're right. I think if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said they're like, when I first learned about them, I thought they were a government agency, a secretive government agency that was trying to keep people in the dark about aliens because they didn't want it to become a known thing, but they were just people. And the more that I've learned, the more you've learned, the more we've shared about Men in Black, then it becomes are they with the government? That's kind of like the gray area. It really does seem like they are more supernatural in themselves.
There are other options besides just aliens, though, as well. There's the idea, this thought, it was put out by the last podcast on the left and Mysterious Universe, that the Men in Black are tulpas. That they are tulpa. Well, I'm not going to talk about that in this theory. And there's also the idea that they are mechanical, that they are non-human, but they're mechanical creatures.
That could be because they do represent a certain uncanny valley.
Yeah, for sure.
And one detail I just want to shout out, I know you probably were going to get to it, but since we already kind of talked about their wear, a big part of the idea that they're wearing black suits is that they can blend into any timeline.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, because, that's another theory is that they're time travelers.
Yeah.
Right? Because a black suit, that fits anywhere in,
now,
the 1800s to now. Now there are more modern suits, but...
They need to get slim fit now if they want to fit in.
No more boot cut?
Yeah, no. No more boyfriend jeans. The black suit, and then maybe they throw in a crossbody bag now.
It's like they go to Men's Warehouse, like, we're going to make you look good.
You're going to like the way you look. We guarantee it.
Yes. But I have 4 points I want to make about why I think they are. My thought is that they are alien in nature. The 4 points are: 1, usually when people come into contact with them, they come with some kind of disease. Usually a lot of times, people come down with some type of disease. Maybe it's some kind of foreign disease that they brought with them. I don't know.
Or they're robots, just malware. They're giving people viruses.
I'm not talking about robots. No robots.
Let me just plug into your computer real quick.
What is your password? 2, there have been several stories of mind control and telepathy beyond human ability. Even if you do believe in humans can have that type of ability, this is almost beyond.
Mm-hmm.
This story that we're going to get into has a little story like that. 3, people seem to witness the MIB in the flesh, and they also seem to witness them in their mind. I was reading an article, and I didn't put it in this episode, but he mentioned that there were several accounts where people were taking hallucinogenics, and they witnessed the MIB. Now, I did take that with a big grain of salt because they were taking hallucinogenics. So
I can see why you didn't include it in the episode.
Yeah. But it's a trope where the MIB do seem to be able to infiltrate through the mind. 4, they also have this uncanny ability to vanish along with whatever vehicle they're driving or in whatever room. They just disappear, right? They also share that trait with black-eyed kids. There's that one story of black-eyed kids where they go to that elderly couple's house and then they leave, in the snow, and they leave and the car just disappears.
The third one almost feels like there's another conspiracy where they're like they're behind like a pushing of drugs to continually keep like a bigger pathway open.
Which also could lead to the big conspiracy theory of, it's not even really a conspiracy theory, it's almost proven fact at this point, where the government was behind the crack
epidemic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So maybe there's more to that too. Like maybe they're also behind the hallucinogenics.
Well, there's a large
Well, there's you say your thing.
Illuminati, MK Ultra. What do you say?
MK Ultra.
Yeah,
That was government based.
yeah. And don't get what I'm about to say confused with vaccinations and vaccines. We're not touching on that today.
No.
But there are theories that the government is like they promote fast food, they promote big pharma
Mhm.
in way like it's just to keep people down. Like even
Yeah.
sports
Repressed. Yeah.
or like Kardashians. Like
well, that's
push
just,
this stuff to distract us, to make
Mhm.
us gain weight, to
It's
make
bread
us
and
unhealthy.
Right, comes down to the Roman theory. If you keep your people entertained and fed, we are straying off to our course.
But that's like entertained, fed, but not necessarily unhealthy.
no,
Like the idea is that they're trying to make us unhealthy.
yeah,
Like not just distract us, but put us in a bad spot. I'm just
Yeah.
saying the third idea of the drugs
Mhm.
could be like if they were pushing that. But
if we were
that's-
trained, we would be well into the.
we'd be
woods.
East Palestine.
Yeah.
You shouldn't laugh at that, my friend.
No, it's not. Damn, that's good. Okay, all right, let's get back on track. So the thing about the Men in Black,
What's the thing?
there are two Hallmark cases from the early 1900s that are the thing that are reported about when they're first started.
Does it really go back to the early 1900s?
It's like mid 1900s. Well, like 20s,
Really?
20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, because these people were born in the 20s, so they're talked about.
Okay.
But the two cases are the Bender story, which is what we're going to heavily cover today, and the Harold Dahi story. And we're not going to do that because I'm going to save that for part 2.
Ah, okay.
I'm dialing it in. So let's get into this. The Bender story. In 1953, Albert Bender reported one of the earliest encounters of the Men in Black. The military veteran worked as a chief timekeeper for the Acme Shear Company, a very specific company. They made scissors. Just,
Jeez.
yeah. So Bender suffered from OCD, and one of the way it manifested, in my opinion, is that the fact that he filled his home with different clocks that all chimed differently. He was very focused on time.
They all chimed at different times.
Same time, but
Oh, okay.
different chimes at the same time.
That's much better than if it was just chiming at different times. Imagine if you set like 8 alarms on your phone for like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. No,
You don't want to be that guy.
I can get down with the different chimes.
I don't know. I feel like that would be a lot of chaos as well.
Like you're in the middle of a conversation. He's like, you're going to want to hold on a second.
Yeah, exactly. So Bender lived in the attic of his stepfather's 3-story home.
They want to keep all those chimes away. Like you take all your goddamn clocks upstairs.
Upstairs, Albert.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though living with your stepfather? That's a strange relationship, I think.
I don't know why. I'm picturing the stepfather from Life is Strange who has a mustache.
I never played that game.
He has a mustache.
Okay. I mean, it's a popular look now.
It's true.
So my theory about why it's a stepfather, I feel like the mom may have passed and then they just kind of stayed together because he's in his early 30s. He's 32 when this happens in 1953.
Maybe the scissor business wasn't as good as he originally thought when he started in the scissor business.
I don't know if it's a lack of money. He seems to have money, is able to use things.
It was right before the year Shears came out. It really messed everything up.
I don't know. It's just strange. But anyway, so he was a strange kind of guy. He decorated his home in a unique sense. Quote, Albert adorned his realm with a collection of monstrous fox skulls, shrunken heads, and his own original outsider art. Should his friends stop over, Albert made sure to complete the atmosphere with unnerving sound effects featuring thunder, sobbing, and hissing noises on his record player. Enamored with ghost stories and horror movies, the terror connoisseur claimed his blood flowed with ancestral witchcraft. Fittingly, Bender dubbed his attic his chamber of horrors. End quote. He was like an old school horror collector.
I like that they called it a realm because I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's like this aesthetic is kind of really popular now.
Welcome to my realm. May I play some sobbing for you on my record player?
Oh, he's got faux skulls, not fox skulls.
I heard fox. You said
I said fox. See, I meant faux, like fake skulls.
Faux skulls.
Yeah.
So
It's
at first I'm like, what does dude have against foxes? But you mean faux.
I meant faux, sorry. But shrunken heads, though, it's strange. Could you imagine going to someone's house right now and seeing this? And then he's like, hold on, let me put my jams on. Play. It's just people crying and thunder. What? What do you do?
You know, I don't know what I would do in that instance, but it wouldn't be a happy reaction.
Would you hang? Would you be cool? Would you?
I'd be afraid if I left, he would kill me. I wouldn't want to turn my back to this dude.
I think he's.
That's when he waits to kill you. He waits for the chimes, and he's like, it's so loud.
I don't
This
know.
cacophony, and he just like pulls out his knife.
That he stole from pulls out his scissors that he stole from the scissor company.
Yeah, he keeps it in his faux skull.
I don't know. I feel like we could probably hang. I feel like I'd get along with Bender.
Well, apparently that's what the Men in Black thought too.
But after several sightings of flying saucers in the 40s, Bender started the International Flying Saucer Bureau in 1952. So he saw plots of flying saucers while he was in the military, and he started this. I don't want to say company. That's not what it is.
Facebook group.
Essentially, yeah. So he was really into flying saucers.
Can we be members?
No. We'll get into why later, but no, we can't.
Okay.
So he was really into flying saucers. He would write a quarterly magazine about anything alien called Space Review. However, as soon as he started the IFSB, Bender started to notice strange things happening. He would get phantom phone calls, and he would start to receive telepathic messages. He also felt eyes were on him, trained on him, wherever he was. In November of 1952, Bender was walking home late at night, and he realized he was being tailed by a man in a black suit. But that man in black suit, he had glowing eyes. He also reported that he was physically attacked and levitated off the ground, and then let go, and he crumpled to the ground. Bender also said that there was a constant smell of sulfur in the attic, which I want to talk about that later. Sulfur. It's important. I want to know what you think about what I think. That's very vague.
That's a teaser.
Yeah.
After this commercial break.
This did not stop Bender. Remember, this time, the Men in Black were not a known phenomenon because this is one of the first sightings. So he didn't realize that these messages or whatever they were warnings to stop doing what he was doing. So he wrote in his Trace Review that all the members reading should focus at one point in one time of the day and contact the aliens. And this would be called Contact Day at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, March 15th, 1953. Everyone reading the magazine would focus and contact the aliens.
See, this is all the result of the Men in Black being vague as shit. They're trying to tell him stop. He's experiencing it. He's like, I need to go more. I need to go deeper.
Unfortunately, Contact Day was not received very well. Bender's attic started to smell even more strongly of sulfur, and he would get more telepathic messages to, quote, cease delving into matters that were not his concern, end quote.
So now they're being more direct.
They're being more direct.
They heard
now.
about Contact Day. They're like, this mother, we have enough days. We don't need Contact
We need
Day.
another work holiday. And that's when mist started to appear in his attic and swirl.
Yellow mist.
Yellow mist. Now, in July of 1953, Bender was finally visited by 3 men. Bender described them as, quote, all of them were dressed in black clothes. They looked like clergymen, but wore hats similar to the Hamburg style, end quote. The men told Bender telepathically to, quote, stop publishing, end quote. And before they left his room, they took copies of Space Review, and then they vanished into a yellow mist, and they left that sulfur smell behind them. And Bender did, and he moved to California and got married. And that's the end of Bender's story. Pretty much, he kind of left it all behind.
Is that why we can't join the group?
That is why we can't join the quote. That's why we can't join the group, because the group has been defunct for many, many years.
You need the admin to accept you. And that's
Yeah,
just
and he's-
not going to happen.
Yeah, he's not going to happen anymore. So yeah, that is so that's the end of Bender's story. So let's move into encounters. All right, so now we're on to some encounters. A lot of these are not from Reddit. Most of them are from Thought Catalog, because there's some really good stories on here. They're older stories. So
You flexing on these stories. I like it.
let's get on to this, because this is probably the most interesting part to me.
How many we got?
I didn't count.
42.
No, it's not quite that many. I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
You living with Zach and the alligator?
6.
Oh, I never posted that.
7.
I gotta post that alligator photo.
We got 7. So this first story is from Dr. Herbert Hopkins.
Herbert Hopkins.
Quote, Dr. Herbert Hopkins was working as a consult for a UFO case in Maine. One evening, he received a phone call from someone reporting to be an activist in the UFO community. They asked him if they can come visit Hopkins to discuss the case. Only minutes later, the man arrived. The man was wearing a black suit and a black tie and had a very unusual facial appearance, with no hair or eyebrows, and an extremely pale figure. Hopkins' dog began barking erratically the minute the man entered his home. After the bizarre visitor who finished questioning him about the UFO case, the visit got even stranger. Here's how it went according to the website The Night Sky. The Night Sky says, the man in black informed Hopkins that there were 2 coins in Hopkins' pocket, which was correct, and asked him to remove one. Hopkins complied and held the coin, a shiny new penny, in the palm of his hand. The men in black told Hopkins to watch the coin closely. After a few moments, the coin took on a silvery appearance and then appeared to be going out of focus. It then began to fade away, eventually disappearing altogether. The MIB informed Hopkins that the coin would never be seen on this plane again. He then inquired as to whether Hopkins was familiar with an alleged UFO abductee, Barney Hill. Hopkins replied that he had heard of Hill, but was under the impression that he had died in the not-too-distant past. The man in black informed Hopkins that this was correct. Barney didn't have a heart, said the MIB, just like you no longer have a coin. It should be noted that Barney Hill actually died from a cerebral hemorrhage. The MIB then gently suggested that Hopkins destroyed any material that he had related to the UFO case. Hopkins, extremely shaken by the encounter, followed the advice of the man and burned all the files he had related to that case. While he had repeated phone troubles after the phone company said the line had been tampered with, he never saw the man again. End quote.
Dude got straight robbed by the men in black.
It's just a penny.
Like, pull those coins out, you poor ass.
Could you imagine that?
It feels like that scene was written by a scriptwriter where it's like, you're going to tell them that you need to stop or your life's in danger, but you're not going to say that. You're going to show them that. It was a very, very creative way.
I think Men in Black like to show, though. I think they do like to show off their powers.
I could see like Scorsese or like Christopher Nolan doing that, where it's like they're showing like this is what's going to happen to you.
Ooh, that'd be a good movie. A real life Men in Black movie.
Yeah, gritty.
Like Nolan.
Right?
Ooh.
Like this is what's going to happen. But they're not saying it. You know, I mean, they kind of said it. But it was a very good demonstration of their power.
Yeah. And
he's probably like the other one in his pocket was a quarter. He's like, thank goodness. Oh, thank goodness I pulled the penny out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. Jim Templeton. Jim Templeton was shocked to discover this figure in the background of a photo of his daughter. He figured this figure was not in the camera's view when he took the photo, and nobody had any idea where it came from. Let me show you the actual photo. Oh, I don't like it, actually.
The photo?
Yeah. So this is his daughter, and then look at the background.
Oh, I've seen that before. It just looks like a spaceman to me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He's not in black.
No, he's not in black. That's not the man in black. The figure was not in the camera's view when he took the photo, and nobody had any idea where it came from. The film was verified authentic by Kodak, and Templeton's stories went public. Not long after, he was visited by 2 government agents who referred to themselves as Number 9 and Number 10, and they demanded to see the site of the photo and questioned Templeton about the event. When Templeton told them he didn't see the figure personally, the man became angry and stormed out to the field, never to be seen again. Templeton was later contacted by 2 employees at a missile launch pad in Australia who claimed that they saw 2 figures that resembled the man in his daughter's photo on a launch pad security footage. Apparently, the missile at the site in Australia had been produced only 20 miles away from the field of Templeton's photo location. End quote.
That's so they were there, they just weren't there.
Yes.
What is your thoughts on this one?
I think the idea is that this whole area where Templeton took the photo was interesting to alien phenomenon because there were missile producers in the area. So they're interested in the weapons. And the idea that this entity was behind his daughter is some kind of temporal or dimensional shifting entity. So that's why they were able to capture this this entity in Australia, because it was on footage, another dimension caught it, basically.
Yeah, that's
the only thing I can really think of, because if you piece it all together, it's like a badly assembled puzzle. Like the pieces are there, but they don't quite fit.
That's how every puzzle is for me. I suck at puzzles. And for those of you listening, I mean, we'll post it on social media. It looks like a spaceman.
Yeah,
like
it
a guy
does.
in a white space suit.
Mm-hmm. It does look like early space people.
Like if you picture them walking on the moon. It's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that very different from what they wear now?
That wasn't a Men in Black. Oh, you mean the astronauts?
Yeah.
I think they were like an orange number with different kind of helmets.
The dude's so angry he couldn't. He's like, I didn't see it with my own eyes. Like, God damn it.
It's funny that he was mad he couldn't see it. Maybe because he was thinking he was looking for someone that actually had the ability to see these figures.
Yeah. He just spent all his time.
So maybe he was hunting this thing. Because the idea that they are galaxy protectors, and maybe this is something that he wanted to protect us from. So he wasn't like mad at him, but he was just mad.
He was just disappointed.
Yeah. So let's move on to Paul Miller's story. Quote, Paul Miller was returning home after a hunting trip when he saw a luminous disc in the sky. The disc landed in an empty field, and two humanoids emerged from the craft. Miller's my kind of guy. Miller fired his gun at them and believed to have injured one when he fled down a rural road in his car. However, in that moment, he realized he had lost time. It was almost 3 hours later than when he first encountered the craft. He shrugged it off and went back to his Air Force job the next day. However, upon entering work, he was immediately confronted by 3 men in black suits. They told him that they had his file. Despite having told nobody about the event, the men said that they knew all about it and mentioned that the encounter would be best forgotten. Paul said, quote, they seemed to know everything about me, where I worked, my name, everything else. They also asked questions about my experience as if they already knew the answers. End quote. Miller was terrified, and he didn't come forward about his experience until many years later. End quote.
It's funny in a pre-social media world how people knowing everything about you is so foreign.
It is strange, yeah. Like I can meet people and have like their whole background.
Yeah, they're like, we followed you on LinkedIn. It's interesting to me that he's in Air Force, so
yeah.
But he had this experience where he saw a UFO. He saw humans come out of it.
Humanoid
he shot
figures.
them.
Yeah.
He lost track of time. But then he shrugged it off. That is the most, like, aliens, UFO, sure. Having that experience and then shrugging it off.
Do you think he's abducted? He must have been, right?
I don't know. It's the weirdest part is the shrugging it off part. Like, if you see a weird light in the sky and it only lasts 3 seconds, you shrug that off.
Yeah, sure.
If you hear a noise in the distance and it doesn't make sense in your house and it's a foreign noise, but you don't want to investigate it, you can shrug that off. His experience seems a little bit more than something you just shrug off.
Yeah, this seems more than a shrug off.
Life-altering?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Or like psyche-altering.
Between, mind collapsing and world-destroying for him.
Like if you had that experience, would you just be like...
I would write a book. I'd become a ufologist.
Ufologist.
That's what I would do.
Ufologist Charlie.
I don't even know what I would say in the book. I'd say something like, time is not a flat circle, and then that's like the thesis statement. I lost hours.
And I'll never get them back just like that penny. My hours are in a different plane.
Yeah.
And they're hanging out with Penny and Barney Hill's heart.
That goes back with what we were talking about with Allie and Nat. Like, would you want to remember? Like,
no.
Oh, I think I do.
I would not. But going back to the very first encounter, or I guess a major lore of the Men in Black, and this isn't to pump us up at the podcast. I know our reach is only so far, and it's not my logical brain. But when I was researching Women in Black, and I had that fear of looking out the window and seeing like a woman in black under like the streetlight, it's that it's not rational, but it's that because we're talking about it and because there is an audience, just that fear that are you going to get a phone call?
Yeah,
are you going to see something?
You know what's actually...
Did you get that feeling at all? Because I did with Women in Black. Did you get anything researching this?
Dude.
Why are your eyes popping?
Because I got it's really fucking weird. I got 4 or 5 weird phone calls today.
What? And you're like...
I
shrugged it off, man. I just shrugged it off.
I didn't connect it. There were 4 or 5 phone calls I got today while I was at work. Different area codes,
just
all of
loans.
them. I never checked my voicemails. One from Austinburg.
big country fields for Men in Black. Well, and they're very vague with their spreading the message of stopping. So, like, he'll call back
Yeah,
if he knows what's good for him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna call back. But that's kind of strange, though, isn't it?
It was just an irrational fear I had.
Huh.
So I was curious. I was going to ask you during this if you had that.
I did have, when I was researching in bed in the evening, I did have some, I don't have a window that looks out.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't.
It just looks in to your soul.
No, it's covered by a tree.
I imagine you candlelit in a red robe.
Well, you're wrong. All right.
Red robe, legs crossed, like propped up against your bedboard, the backboard, a cigar or a pipe.
A pipe.
A pipe, and then just your phone, and you're just researching. And that's what I imagine. Maybe like little, maybe reading glasses on the tip of your nose.
Oh, boy. It sounds like a good time. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Danny Gordon. Quote, Danny Gordon was a radio personality. He became interested in a flurry of White County UFO sightings. Multiple people across from the county claimed to have seen bizarre objects in the sky, and Gordon decided to investigate. Pause really quick. Now, if you notice, there's an interlocking of people who are interested and involved in the UFO community and people who have witnessed things. Just want to point that out. Gordon became obsessed with getting photos of the object, including one time where the entire school bus of students saw the UFO flying over the shopping mall, and Gordon took photos. Eventually, Gordon snapped a few photos at extremely close range that allegedly verified they were out of this world. However, strange things began happening to Gordon. He received a phone call from a man who claimed to be ex-military and warned him that his research could cost him everything and urged him to stop for his family's sake. Gordon was also interviewed by two men in black suits who claimed to work for a magazine publication. Not long after this interview, Gordon realized all the photos were missing. He contacted the magazine for the information, and they claimed to have never heard of him, much less commissioned an article about him. Not long after that, Gordon suffered a heart attack, and his doctor warned him that the research and stress was jeopardizing his health, and Gordon gave up the story and was never bothered again.
Do you think the doctor had any connection, or do you think the doctor was just thinking he was stressed?
I think the doctor just thought he was stressed.
Is that creepy moment where, like, I mean, this is not going to be creepy what I'm about to say, but like where you think that, like, he's talking to him and the doctor's like, you better stop your research, and Gordon just has this frozen moment of like, why'd you say that? And he's like, well, it's obviously stressing you out, and you know, it's not healthy. And he's like, oh, okay. And then as he's leaving, he's like, by the way, hide all your pennies. And he knows.
Sit under the jacket's a black suit.
Whoa. You just see like a little black, like the part pop out.
Like a handkerchief.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's one of them. He messed up. Tyler has donned a lovely, what is it called? Headband?
It's a little headband with two springs and two alien heads at the end of it.
Does it make you feel more focused?
This is from the Museum of UFO Research. It's from Roswell. It's from Roswell.
Cool.
From the museum in Roswell.
I like it. It makes me feel more festive.
I've worn it longer than Joey has. But by the way, just because of how you started that story, it made me think a fun episode I want to do one day, because I don't know the answer, and maybe we'll get Tom DeLonge on here. How to catch UFO? Because he was like, I want to catch photos.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, how do you do that? You can't just be like, I want to see one. You know,
you
like,
have to like bait it out somehow.
Steps to take, places to go.
Maybe you have to like put like UFO corn down, and like they'll come to the corn.
Like reindeer?
Yeah.
Santa's reindeer?
Yeah.
One of them might be more believable than the other. But that might be a fun episode one day.
That'd be
that
cool.
I might want to tackle.
So UFO researcher Jack Robinson and his wife, Mary, began to experience extremely strange events as they pursued more alien and UFO related research. They would come home to find their house rummaged and looked through, and their UFO files disturbed. Mary also began to notice a strange man in black suit and hat staring up at their apartment from their doorway. Mary mentioned the activity to a friend who drove over and saw who she was talking about for himself. A friend, Tim Green Beckley, snapped a photo of the man, which is believed to be one of the most ironclad pieces of proof of the Men in Black. I guess technically, I got this wrong in the quiz.
Because his wife took it?
No, it wasn't the wife. It was just the friend that took it. Might be. So that's the picture. And it's a pretty good picture. Do you want to describe it?
Okay, let's go.
You do your best. It's old timey.
Okay. Have all these been old-timey that we've talked about thus far?
The one was like from the 70s, I think.
Yeah, but like we haven't talked about any in the last like 30 years.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So it's a street shot, and it's like when all the buildings are really close together in like a downtown area, and there's this archway where people would go outside and smoke, and it's just this guy hanging out, creeping kind of. You can't really see which way he's looking. I don't
He
think.
looks older though, right? In my head, he's got like wrinkles.
I don't see that, but I believe you.
Okay.
I guess you could kind of see that, but he's wearing a black suit, black hat.
Looking like a man in black.
It looks like he's leaning up against the inside of the doorway area of entering a business building. I will say though, based on where like the time period that we've discussed, it's definitely more common for people to wear black suits in this time.
For sure. That is the last from Thought Catalog. So I've got 2 more stories, and these are from Reddit.
Are these more recent?
Yeah. This one's from 2004.
Yeah, so it's only 20 years ago, which is crazy.
That's not even funny. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is from 20 years ago. Quote, my Men in Black encounter happened in 2004 and was something I'll never forget. A little backstory. Prior to my MIB incident, I went on a camping trip to Joshua Tree National Park.
I want to go there.
I know you do. With a few friends. On our last night there, we were looking at the stars up for a while at the campfire, and that's when I witnessed a couple of glowing blue UFOs in the night sky and going at amazing speeds. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My friends were equally amazed and mystified. I tried to take a photo with my flip phone, and the UFOs moved too fast for me to get a clear image of them. On our way back home, we talked more about what we saw, and we were really excited about it. Not long after that, I noticed a black car following me from a distance. I switched lanes to make sure the black car was in fact following me, and sure enough, whenever I went, the car followed. Then I glanced over my rear view mirror, and the car suddenly disappeared without a trace, which was unsettling. Fast forward to the Men in Black encounter. The next day, after running a few errands, I started driving home, and I arrived at my house, and I saw a black Cadillac parked in my driveway. I tried to convince myself that it wasn't the same black car following me as a few days ago, but my gut feeling told me otherwise. When I got out of my car, 2 men in black matching suits, light gray dress shirts, and black ties, and black fedoras approached me and asked if they could ask me a few questions about what I witnessed the night before. I asked them who they were and for some credentials, and they claimed that they worked for a division of the U.S. Air Force. Their approach looked what I can only describe as plastic and expressionless, and they both had pale olive skin tones, and they spoke in a raspy, monotone voice, and their speech was very precise, sounding almost synthetic. They had a cold and intense gaze. Some of the questions they asked were, can you describe what you saw that night? What do you think you saw? Did you take any photos of what you witnessed? Were there others there who might have had a recording device or a camera? Do you know if anyone recorded the incident? Have you spoken about this incident with anyone who wasn't present with you that night? Did you find any unusual debris at the location you were that night? Would you be withholding any important information from us? Of course, I didn't answer most of their questions honestly, and I did withhold a lot of information as to what I saw and who I was with. They ended their question by strongly advising me to refrain from talking about what I witnessed with anyone and to forget the incident ever happened. They also strongly implied that they would be keeping an eye on me in any case. I decided to ignore their demands after the encounter. After the encounter, I had this constant ominous feeling for a while and always looked over my shoulder wherever I went. I don't know who these men were or how they had knowledge of what I saw that night, but I believe they were the Men in Black. Since that encounter, I've been really hesitant and careful about who I share my experience with, but I finally decided to share it. End quote.
That is a traditional Men in Black story. For a second, I thought maybe we've told it on the podcast before because it sounded so familiar, but I feel like maybe I've just read it.
I think you might have just read it. I don't
know.
Like, you said you started doing research for this episode, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't have fit for Women in Black.
Mm-mm.
It's funny because like that one story where they're like, I'm number 9 and I'm number 10.
Yeah.
I feel like 9 and 10 drove like a black Ford Focus. I feel like these guys, if they got a Cadillac, I think he talked to like 2 and 3. Like this feels like they got caddies. They're up there in the Men in Black chain.
Like 9 and 10 probably had at least a Crown Vic. All right. So this is our last story
From Reddit.
This is our Reddit encounter. Quote, My elder brother was an intelligence analyst in the Army. He and his wife and another couple went up onto a hill near the base to observe a full moon one night, just a casual night out. They witnessed an amazing aerial phenomenon with a blazing blue orb conducting maneuvers that no human craft could do. Both my brother and his friend were experts in capacities of all aircraft extant at the time in our world. After observing the event for some time, the light suddenly stopped and held a stationary position in the sky. All in the car had the certain feeling that it was noting their observations. Then it seemed to surge toward their position, looming large. All of the above was happening around 10 p.m. at night. The next thing they knew, it was 4 a.m., and their car was hundreds of miles east of their base. It was also sitting exactly in the middle of the harvested wheat or barley field. They got out and walked around the car, and there was no tracks out to their position in the field. It was just sitting there in the middle, as if it had been dropped from the sky. A period of hysteria struck them all, and they fled the scene, and they just kept going until they intersected an interstate. And that was when they realized how far they had been from the base. Some days later, Men in Black visited my sister-in-law at her home and visited the wife of the brother's friend. And they didn't ask any questions. They just made very ominous threats about not talking about what happened. Some years later, my brother said that they had arrived at his office at his base and threatened him. What really rattled him was that no one else in the complex saw them arrive or leave. And this is a controlled access intelligence area. Even years later, my brother, a hardened Vietnam vet, would start pouring tears when speaking of coming to this field. My sister-in-law would burst into overt weeping at the mention of the Men in Black, even on a television show. There are deeply paranormal undertones in this event and encounters. My brother doesn't shed tears for anything, not pain, not loss. He has a 1,000-yard stare of a combat veteran. A light moving in the sky does not shatter him. Something very deep and profound is going on with these kinds of encounters that assaults the minds of beings who go through them. End quote.
That is a crazy, crazy, crazy encounter. Like, insane.
Isn't that wild?
And they moved from the Penny showcase to ominous threats. But also, like, not that the UFOs are the Men in Black, but like, dropping the car in the field, it either shows that they don't fully understand how we function, or it's a message.
It's a power play. That's a power play for sure. Are you serious? Yeah. That's a show of strength. Anyway, that was our last story. So with all the things we talked about, these great encounters, let's move on to the discussion. All right, Tyler, before we get to the discussion, I want to stop. Thank you. And thank everyone who's joined our Patreon from last week and this week.
Yeah, the collab kind of got a little funky.
Funky. But
we didn't overly pitch Patreon then.
We still got you because we don't want to ignore those who, we want to thank.
We're not leaving you hanging?
Hell no. So, we have Angelica, Carly, Lindsay, Diana, and Carrie. Thank you all so much for joining the Patreon. We've got a lot going on. I would normally throw it to Tyler here, but I actually want to go first, so I'm going to do that. What I want to pitch is something we just went over for this episode, is the quiz. A lot of fun. I love the quiz. You can play it yourself if you got this far, it's a little late. But you can go back and listen to all the quizzes we've done. It's my favorite game. It's my favorite for a reason.
Do you like this quiz more or remembering the bizarre quiz?
It's a lot of fun too, but I like... Man, I don't know.
Remembering the Bizarre is when producer Ben quizzes us on one of our own episodes.
Yeah, but also he puts in those like funky questions.
That's true.
So
we definitely keep it more. We have a structure. I like the way Ben does it. It's different than the way we do.
It is. They're both really fun. But I like my quiz. I like giving the quiz.
Yeah.
It's like
it's like you're the game show host.
Yeah.
You get to watch people squirm.
For
AKA
sure.
Me.
I also want... Can I do two? I'm going to do two. I hope I don't steal yours. I also wanted to say we have something for our dedicated tier and not tier. If you are free, we have something called a Google Hangout. And we are going to do a unique...
He doesn't mean financially free. He means if you're available.
If you're available on the specific day, we do it once a month, where we hang out for like an hour on Google and just talk. It's a great time. I love doing it. I love meeting new people. I love seeing old faces. We're going to do a unique one. What? Old faces? Faces that we've seen before. That's what I mean. Anyway, we're going to do a unique one. We're going to drive to Gettysburg, and on the way, we're going to do this Google Hangout.
Like, we're not going to be focusing on the road at all. We are going to be purely focused on the video chat and what is happening.
Like, Tyler, Charlotte, that's not safe. It's fine. We'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I've watched football games driving. It's fine.
Anyway, those are the things I wanted to shout out.
So the one thing I would like to shout out is happening in real time tomorrow. It is the Netflix watch party. We put out a poll. Here are 3 Netflix movies. Which one are we going to watch together? Y'all get to vote. We pick a movie and we use the Teleparty Chrome extension. It's completely free. We all watch the movie together. There's a chat function, so we're talking in real time.
Yeah.
So we get to watch horror movies with y'all.
Yeah.
In real time, talk about it at the same time. It's so much fun. If it's a great movie, we talk about how scary it is, how much we like the writing, the actors, and everything. We don't know what's going to happen. If it's a terrible movie, sometimes it's even more fun because we're making fun of it. We're making fun of the characters' decisions.
It is more fun. Like, well, even Babysitter was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
That's just a great movie.
Yeah.
But
we have fun with bad movies too, though.
Yes, it doesn't have to be. There's only been a couple dull ones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. I love horror movies, so to be able to incorporate that in ways in Patreon gets me super excited.
I'm learning. I'm growing.
Yes.
All right. Well, anyway, thank you for joining our Patreon. Those who have joined. If you haven't, we still love you. But let's get back to the episode. All right. So, as you can tell by my voice, I did a lot of talking. But I do have some questions I want to pose to you.
Are we talking about the main story? We're talking about the encounters? Where are we going with this?
Everything.
All of it.
We're going to factor everything to our equation. Do we find the Men in Black believable? I don't remember where we went on Women in Black. Don't let that sway you in any way.
Well, I can't because I can't remember. So.
I can't either. All right, because it was a while ago. We do a lot of shows. Anyway, so first question. Are the Men in Black humans or are they something else? What do you think? Based off everything we talked about. First encounter with Bender down to the last encounter with the brother.
Very few of them seem like
They're people, right?
Some of them, I guess, more the vague ones where they just like like some of them, the encounter is more strange than the Men in Black, and then it's like these people just show up and they're ominous and they tell them to stop, and it's like unusual that they would know, but they could have been briefed. It could be humans that are briefed on what happened, but there's also a handful of stories where it just seems
there's no way they could be humans, right?
Well, the Penny one.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's several stories in here. It's just like there's no way that could be a human.
The cars disappearing. I mean, the one with the Cadillac is very strange. The Penny one is strange. The main story
is very strange.
Yeah, so I don't think they're human. Did any of these sound like robots to you?
The one from Reddit definitely sounded robotic to me.
The first one?
No, the one from Reddit.
There were 2 Reddits.
Yeah, the first one from Reddit.
The first Reddit, yeah.
That sounded pretty robotic. I could see other cases maybe being robotic. The stalking case with the photo. That might be robotic.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem more robotic than Alien. And could Alien and Time Traveler be just the same thing?
Yeah.
Like Dimension Traveler?
It could be the same thing. That's not really what we're basing it off. We're just asking, is it believable that Men in Black are paranormal?
Yeah, I think it's definitely more so. It doesn't seem like it's just normal humans.
Yeah, we're not getting lost in logistics here. This isn't like, are they this thing specifically? Are they this? It's just they're not humans.
What do you think?
I think going off everything we've covered and just going off those stories alone, it's pretty evident to me that they are not human. But another question I have for you, this isn't necessarily toward the believability scale or anything, but do you think that they're malevolent? Do you think they have ill intentions?
It's kind of the way that I've thought about it before is that they are, well, it's tough because...
Is there anything from these stories that made you think they might have ill intentions?
Well, yeah. I mean, the threatening. Yeah. Like, we will kill you. Like, they almost seem like we killed Barney. He didn't stop talking.
That's true. He didn't.
So, malevolent in that I guess it's like, if they work for the U.S. government, if we're talking strictly United States here, if they work with the government and they're trying to keep things hush-hush, then it feels more malevolent than the idea that they are galactic police.
So that leads to the next question. What do you think they want? Like what? Not just you. Like what do you think that they might want?
Well, I guess that goes back to what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Is if they're working for the government, then there could be more malevolence there because they're trying to silence people.
A control of information, right?
Right. Whereas if they're intergalactic beings that are just trying to keep the universe safe, then it kind of feels like we're willing to keep the world or things safe no matter what happens.
Cost, right?
Yeah.
The whole is greater than the individual.
Yeah. If we have to kill some people to keep the greater good, then there's like no emotion, there's no empathy, there's none of those connections. Well, almost very logical, like logic without the human emotion tied to it.
Very logical.
Because then you hear those things where it's like, would you be willing to let 15 people die to save a parent?
Yeah, or the trolley cart. Do you know that one?
You can say it.
Okay, the trolley cart problem is like you've got 5 people tied up to a track, and you've got 1 person tied up to a track. The trolley is going to hit, and you have to choose the 1 or the 5.
Maybe the one's related to you or something.
Well, that's the one angle you could. But the idea that I think the original idea is that just you have to physically move it to hit the 1 person.
Yeah, you're in. But basically, my thought process is that the Men in Black would obviously be like, okay, done.
Yeah.
What next?
For sure.
And it's not like I hate this 1 person.
It's just
logically 1 person is
less than
5. Yeah. So it almost it feels like they go off that. It feels like there's no empathy. It doesn't feel evil. Like it doesn't seem like they're evil. It just seems like protecting information at any cost. And we're not knowledgeable enough to know what the stakes are. Like if the stakes are just like, we made a deal with the government, so shut up, then it's like, well, that's shady. I mean, it's shady regardless. But if it's like, you don't even know the ways that we've protected the world, then it's kind of like, okay, maybe it truly is for the greater good. We don't know their intentions.
Yeah, well, like in the Men in Black movie, they blow up a giant bug, but like we don't know that.
Yeah, we're just going about our day. That's just New York subway.
Yeah, right.
So there's no way for us to know. And I sleep better at night thinking it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
Like in a perfect world, I would prefer them to be agents of either our planet, the solar system, the galaxy, and they are just trying to keep things status quo.
Yeah.
But then there's also government. They've made a deal. They give them people to test, and they give us information, or they keep us safe,
or technology,
or they're just trying to keep things hush. They've done a really bad job lately keeping alien things hush. But there haven't been. Did that second one have a year? The Reddit story?
I don't think it did. No.
So it's like, have the Men in Black were they laid off? Like, because in the last 15 years,
I think you can find more recent cases. Those are just really powerful ones that I found. And we'll talk about cases.
They weren't prepared. Their penny trick worked and was dope back in 60 years ago. They were not prepared for the power of social media.
Yeah,
they need to go talk to Elon Musk. Like, yo, bro, I need you to destroy this thing. He's like, I'm trying. Come on, I'm trying, man.
I also have another thing. You said evil. Speaking of evil, there was something that I wonder if you caught during Bender's case. He said that there was a smell of sulfur,
like demonic.
Attic. I was wondering, do you think there's an element of evil here, like demons? Could they be demons posing?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think
Explain
so.
That logic.
It doesn't feel like they're evil. It doesn't feel like they're trying to harm you. It just feels like they're trying to keep information. It feels, It's very government based. It feels just like you saw something you shouldn't have seen, and we're going to try and keep it hush hush. Not like, that doesn't seem like what a demon or anything would do.
I just went there because of the sulfur smell. But I mean, there could be life forms based off sulfur versus carbon, which is we are. So maybe it just comes from a different building blocks of life.
Well, no one else reported the sulfur.
No.
But no one else saw the yellow mist.
That's true.
So Bender had experiences with the Men in Black that none of these other encounters did. So
he also had many experiences too.
So it would make sense that he would have some sensations that others wouldn't. So perhaps whether it's the scent or the telepathy or something that brought naturally occurring the sulfur scent. Even though Bender's case is so dramatic.
Yeah.
And we don't know how much of a reliable person he is.
That's
true.
He
started this thing that many other people have claimed. So I'm not saying he's lying or he made it up, but it's just, very intense, a very unique person,
Yeah.
to say the least.
You said intense. It's an intense encounter. For sure.
I think that's one of the scariest things about it is like yes, there are some of these people that we've talked about that were trying to go see UFOs and trying to experience it, but some of these people are they just happen to witness it. Like it wasn't like it's not their fault. They just saw it, and then to have these people kind of like come and tell you like just to feel that intensity. Because now it's like since they're so well known, like back then it would startle you because you'd be like, why are these people talking to me? What are they like? What is the whole point of this? But now, since Men in Black are so much more popular, imagine if you do see something strange and your first thought is like, oh no, am I going to be visited? And then you go home and it's like, as you're like pulling down your street, you just see a man in a black suit standing in front of your driveway or your doorway. And it's just like that dreading feeling of like, oh no, like, and just they're coming for me. Yeah. Can I hide? Then it's like, then you really start wondering, are they human? What can they do? Are they going to kill me? Like, are they going to like, how are they going to threaten me?
I mean, that also comes back to the idea that the Men in Black are tulpas. Don't just blow it off. Because they do feed off that sense of paranoia and fear. And also there's the idea that even if you're just like a person that sees like maybe just an orb in the sky fly by, that's a small sighting. It's not a big deal. But what happens is the Men in Black come and they almost take over, right? They almost take over this case and make it not about the sighting, but make it more about themselves. And they feed into it that way. Now, I don't want to derail this into about tulpas or whatever, but I do think that's an element of it, is that they do kind of take these smaller events and they shift it to more about themselves.
But who would have but they were unknown for such a long time. So it's a thought form energy, Gus, because that'll never leave my brain. So wouldn't you kind of have to create them? But if like so many people like in the 50s and 60s didn't know Men in Black existed. Mm-hmm. So how could they like, it seems like it is a consequence of seeing something rather than something that's being put out there.
You mean the tulpa idea in general?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not prepared to defend the idea of Men in Black as a tulpa. I'm just putting those ideas out there.
See, like if it was like if the Men in Black theory originated before the sightings, then I would say that there's more weight to it. Right? But the sightings of the Men in Black came before people knew what they were. Yeah. So I don't think they could be something people thought up if we were surprised they even came.
That's a fair point. I'd have to do more research into that.
There's a lot to talk about here.
There is.
Do you think they're evil? Do you think they're malevolent? Do you think they're government? Do you think they're galactical?
I do think they are
guardians.
I think they're alien in nature and or interdimensional. And I do think that they work with governments. I do. I think that's a much higher percent than 20s.
So do you think when they tell people that, no, you didn't see anything, are they doing it for the greater good of the galaxy, or are they doing it because they have a deal with their government and they're trying to keep it hush-hush and society on Earth chill?
I think it can be both. I think they do. I don't know if they do necessarily care if it's for the greater good, but it's for their greater good.
Their paycheck.
In essence, yes. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily good, but I do think that it keeps panic from ensuing everywhere. Like,
so if there's any goodness in that, although I mean with the recent news of alien stuff, I feel like
people don't give a shit anyway. So
it's just because it doesn't affect them. And we've talked about that. If an alien came and abducted your cat, you would care more.
You'd be like, Muffin, no.
You'd care more than you hear that somebody in Texas saw a light in the sky.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. So overall, where do you fall on Men in Black?
What's the scale?
The scale is, thank you for asking. The scale is all the way from believable, I believe this topic 100%, to viable, like there's some good points. That makes a lot of sense. Skeptical is like, some points, but I'm not sure if that's quite real. And there's just flat out, I don't believe that. Unbelievable.
So are we rating whether or not they're real, or are we rating whether or not they're paranormal?
I think we're going to rate whether or not they're paranormal.
So not whether they exist, or is that just an assumed thing that they exist?
I think we're just going to go with they assume they exist to some extent.
Well, I go both. I think they are alienish, and I do think they're real. I think it's fair to still rate whether or not they exist, but
it's a fair question.
I'm okay. I would go either way. Like I feel like no matter whether we're talking about paranormal or whether they exist. For the time being, there's just so many sightings.
It's a little more niche. I think I'm going to go with if they're paranormal, and I also believe
Yeah.
that they're paranormal in nature.
You go believable?
I do.
I think the more, not interesting, the whole thing is interesting. The more discussion doesn't really lie for me in whether or not they exist. It's more so, what are they? What are they doing? What are they protecting? What is their purpose?
It's the questions that we can't really get the answer to.
Right.
So thank you for listening to this episode on the Men in Black, and quite possibly the first episode on the Men in Black. I'm just saying, might come down the line again.
I was thinking it might be fun to dress up as a Men in Black for our Halloween special, but then I'd have to wear a suit, and that sounds miserable.
I won't wear a suit. No,
Are you dressing up? I need to know, because
I thought said you were dressing up.
I need to know if you're dressing up.
I will.
Because last time I dressed up and you just had like a blankie on.
I'm not going to confirm anything. I'll look around and see what I can do.
Okay.
I'll let you know before Friday.
Before the day before. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, because it was a lot of fun to do. And if you did enjoy it, please go to Apple and leave a 5-star review. And if you could leave some kind of message, doesn't have to be anything particular. It could be anything, just like, oh man, that's great. Anything like that.
Or if you're listening on Spotify, you can comment on this specific episode, what you thought about this specific episode. Speaking of episodes, I hope you all enjoyed our collab with Let's Get Haunted and our back-to-back alien stories.
Yeah.
We have to take a break now for like 2 months.
Right.
But I hope you enjoyed our collab with Let's Get Haunted. And if you're a hauntee still listening, welcome and thank you. Ali and Nat are awesome. It was so much fun doing collabs with them on their podcast and our podcast. They're really funny. They're really talented, very hardworking. So honored to do a collab with them. And there might be some more in the future down the road a little bit.
For sure.
But we hope you enjoyed that episode. And it's getting a little bit close to Christmas. And if you're a Bizarro, or there's someone in your family who's a Bizarro and you want to get them something, we do have merch. You can go to BelieveInBizarro.com, go shop our merch. Check that out. There's hoodies, there's t-shirts, there's hats and stuff out there. And like we mentioned before, there is bonus content. If you want a little bit more, if you're all caught up on the episodes and you want quizzes, behind the scenes segments, games, talk to us on chats, get a free hoodie, a free shirt, a free enamel pin, hear our thoughts on horror movies, play games with us, all that kind of stuff.
A lot of stuff going on Patreon.
So much going on. So check that out if you want the bonus content. But if not, we appreciate that you are here and you are listening to us now.
And I want you to take that name Bizarro and ingrain it in yourself, because that's what you are.
Own it. Own it. But seriously, thank you everybody so much for listening. Reminder, October 28th, 9 p.m. live episode.
We'll see you then.
We will see you then. Especially if you're in Gettysburg, because we will physically see you then.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But as always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre,
a podcast as bizarre as you are.